Alright, I'm going to show you the basics of placing an asset into the Unreal Engine. And really, this process of actually getting your asset out in such a state where it could be really used in any game engine. Everything is attached as one mesh. The origin sits at the origin of the world, located at 0, 0, 0, x, y, and z. The rotation has no value on it, and the scale has no value on it beyond, 100%, which means full size. I placed an extra edit poly on top of here. And the reason I placed an edit poly on top of here, an extra one, is because when you export out an FBX file, it automatically gets triangulated. Now, just in case you want to import this into another piece of software like mine at some point, having an extra edit poly on there will allow it to retain its four-sided polygons. So I'm going to come up and say File, Export Selected. You want to navigate to the proper location. I'm already there. I'm going to select the name of the asset that I want. And then I'm just going to hit Save. And I'm going to select Media and Entertainment. And this is, I was already set to FBX, I'm sorry. Smoothing groups, I'm going to turn on and then say OK. That's going to export out my file. So now I've already clicked to launch the Unreal Engine. Okay. So I'm going to come over here and click Launch. That's going to go ahead and launch the Unreal Editor for me. And while I do that, I'm going to make a folder for myself. In this case, on my D drive, I made a folder called ACC for Unreal. The ACC is going to be the folder that I want to load to. So now I'm on the New Project screen. Inside here, we have different templates that we can work off of. And the one that we're going to choose is third person. That gives us a little person that can run around. He's built to real world scale inside the game engine. We're going to build for the desktop console at maximum quality with no starter content. So we're going to use this to browse to our folder. Here you can see I've already browsed to my ACC folder, and then we want to give it a name. I'm going to call this Spring 19, and then hit Create Project. And there you go, you can see there's now a folder inside here. It's starting to load up the editor. The software is basically copying into this Spring 19 folder a number of different folders. So here's the Unreal Editor. Over here on the side we have different modes. These are different things we can add to our scene. Here we have the 3D viewport, the world outliner listing everything in it, details. If I click on an actor, it'll give its details. And down here at the bottom is the content browser. If I click on this little folder, you can see it expand, and it's just like a navigation. If I come here to explore, you can see there's content. If I double click on it, you can see the different folders that are underneath it. So not all of them are listed inside of there. Some of them are system folders, and so they're kind of hidden. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new folder inside here. And I'm going to call this Banner. And then I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to open it up. Inside this folder, I'm going to import my assets. Now, we want to make sure that we put things in order in folders because, let's face it, we're not animals, and we want to keep some sort of structure and organization. So I'm going to go find my Banner Final and click Open. Okay, so now I'm going to import my FBX. So a couple things I need to do. I'm going to turn off Auto Generate Collision. I'm going to expand that down, and I want to turn off Generate Light Maps, and then close the advanced options. I'm going to come to the bottom and turn off Import Materials and Import Textures, and just say Import. And there you go, there's my mesh. If I hover over it, it gives information such as where it's located, and I can just drag it into the scene, and it's going to place it based off of its origin point inside of 3ds Max. So if I rotate it, I'll rotate it over to the side here. If I was to go back to 3ds Max and take my asset, and if I move it over here, I'm going to say File, Export Selected, I'm going to overwrite that Banner Final asset. And now when I come to Unreal, if I right click and say Re-import, notice that the asset is offset from its origin. So when I explain that an asset is always going to come in relative to the origin of the world. So we want to make sure that we have our assets located properly relative to the origin of the world. Now, not everything's going to be centered, But a prop such as this is always going to be centered, so its base is right down there. So it's export selected, banner, save, yes, say OK. And now we can re-import it. So if it was too small or wanted to adjust it in some way, we could go through and we can make those changes inside of 3ds Max, save the file, re-export it, and then just re-import it here. If I hit play, I can run around. I could click inside the viewport and use the WASD commands to run around and take a look at it. There's no collision, so I don't bump into it. If I hit escape, that'll get me out of there. If I select my banner, I can hold the Alt key and drag. Now you're probably wondering how I'm navigating the viewport. So my right mouse button, if I just click and hold that, allows me to orbit. If I hold the middle mouse button, that allows me to pan. If I hold the left mouse button and drag, that allows me to move back and forth and kind of look around as I'm going. So if I hold both mouse buttons, left and right, it'll allow me to pan as well. So I can come in here and I can just keep dragging and placing my banner anywhere I want. I'm hitting spacebar to switch between move, rotate. There's also a scale. You can hit scale and you can scale your objects, non-uniform or uniform. Over here in details, you can see there's location, rotation, and scale. You can manually type in values here, like if I just want to get it back to regular size. All right, so we went to the trouble of making textures, so let's go ahead and import those. I'm going to click import. I'm going to grab my AORM, my ambient occlusion, roughness and metallic, my base color, my normal. My banner I made in opacity, so I'm going to make sure to bring that in as well. And I'm going to click open. All right, it's going to go ahead and it's going to import my textures. All right, here's my different textures. So if I double click on the banner, it loads that up. Now the reason I'm opening up the AORM is because that's a packed material, and so I need to uncheck this. All right, so let's close that. I'm going to open up the next one, same thing, and save that. Okay. So in order to get these textures to show up, we need to create a material. So I'm going to right click and say material and do m_posts. I'm going to right click again, say new material, and do m_banner. All right, so let's pop open the post first. I'm going to hover over the folder tab so I can kind of float this in the viewport. All right, so I'm on the post. First thing I need to do, just drag in the wood. Now this is the BC, the base color, and so we're going to plug in the white into base color. These different colors here, they represent just the red channel, green channel, or blue channel. So we want all three of the base color plugged in. I'm going to drag in the normal, and the normal, again, is another one where all three of these channels, red, green, and blue, are all important, so it's going to get plugged into normal. The only map that makes use of individual channels is the packed one. And so the AO means ambient occlusion. So that's the first channel, the red, that goes into ambient occlusion. The second, it's AOR, R for roughness. The second one down gets plugged into roughness. And then the third one, M, is metallic. So if I click and hold my right mouse button, I can pan in here. I can drag this over and plug that into metallic. So you can see now there's my material. It's showing up on the material sphere here. I can change the material, the way it draws, to put it on a box. I just hit save. And now if I double click on my banner mesh, it loads it up here in the tab. And you can see I have two materials. If I click highlight, it tells me which one they are. All I need to do is select the posts and then use the little arrow to assign that material to it. And if I click and hold, it's the same controls inside of here maneuvering around. So let's open up the banner. So the banner is going to work, for the most part, the same. BC, base color. You take all three of those channels, plug them in. Same for the normal, gets plugged into normal. The AORM, we bring that in, and we're going to plug in ambient occlusion from the red. The green is the roughness. The blue is the metallic. We plug all those into place. And now we just have one extra texture here because I brought in an opacity mask. So I'm going to drag that into here. There's my opacity. So if you happen to have opacity, I'm just going to adjust the size of this. You need to select the main material node here. And inside here you can change the blend mode. This is currently set to opaque. If I click on it, I can change it to masked. And now you'll see that opacity mask is an option. So I can take that white, the full channel, and plug it in there. In order to see it, we could set this to be just a plane or a box. And now you can see the edges. There's the edges not showing up. So if you have a texture, or if you have a model where you only placed the, you only have polygons from one side of your cloth, you'll just need to click the two-sided material option. So I'm going to click Save on this. And then I'm going to close this material here. And now I can select that material, the M banner. If I bring this over, I can plug that in. And now my banner shows up on here. See the opacity? Look at that. It's showing up just right. So I'm going to hit Save. I can close it. Make sure this is saved and close it. If I hit Escape, I won't be holding on to any of these things. I can hit Play. And now inside my scene, oops, I accidentally floated it. Inside my scene, I can run around my textures. Run around my banner object. So you can bring in any object like this. Anything you've made, you can bring in the textures. I'm just going to hit Save All and Save Selected. I'm going to hit Save Current to actually save the current map. But that's effectively how you bring objects into the Unreal Editor.